Everybody, this is Lynn from the Three of Pentacles. Today we're going to do elderberries. I'm going to make a tincture and I'm going to make syrup. So this will probably be a little bit longer of a video. The tincture will of course take about 8 weeks before it's ready to be used, and the syrup I'll be able to use in a couple of hours. So elderberries are a great anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. It has a lot of vitamin C. It's great for your immunity booster. It can help relieve cold and flu symptoms really quick. Apparently there was an article in the Journal of International Medicine and Research that suggested if you take the elderberry syrup within the first 48 hours, it can, greatly reduce any of your cold and flu symptoms. And that it was also used for a flu pandemic outbreak back in 1995, at least here in the States, I think it was. So you can make your tincture with dried, fresh, or freeze-dried if you have any. This is Mountain Rose herb. These are dried. I'm going to actually use the dry for my syrup, but I actually have some fresh ones here. And these are in the freezer because when you have them fresh, they're kind of hard to get off the flour, and you'll see they come in bunches like this. So when they're frozen, they come off real quick. So I'm going to do this until I about fill a jar because I need fresh ones for this tincture. And I am not going to keep you here while I'm doing all of this right now. But freezing them makes it a whole lot easier to get the berries off of the flour. So you can kind of see the flour there. And we'll be right back when we're ready to do the rest of the processing for this part. Okay, now that I have my jar filled with the fresh elderberries, I'm going to squish them a little bit just to kind of break them open. And so this way here the vodka can get in a little bit easier. I'm not going to over pulp it or anything. And I wasn't worried about some of the flour pieces being in here because I'll strain it at the end when I'm ready to do the tincture. So elderberry is definitely one of the favorites that I make in tincture format and in the syrup format. The tincture I tend to use when we feel the onset of something right away because it gives it a bigger boost. Whereas for me, typically with the syrup, I use it as an immunity booster during cold and flu season when stuff is starting to come around in the air wherever you got to work. Barbara, she and her partner use the tincture all the time because they're entertainers and they're dealing with, people that are possibly sick quite often in their singing, their musical careers. So they use the tincture a lot. My friend, I send a bottle of syrup to his mother every winter so she can have it. She loves the syrup, and I do too. The syrup can work just as well for you to help diminish any of the symptoms, the cold and flu symptoms, if you're coming on with it. I just think the tincture works a little bit quicker. So now that the jar is filled, I'm going to fill it up to the rim with vodka, and then I'm going to label the top and with the date, and we will strain this, and I will have my tincture from the fresh elderberries in about 8 weeks, give or take. And then I'll have plenty to share with everybody. I'd started a batch a couple days ago from some freeze-dried berries, and don't forget 100 proof vodka if you can. If you can only get 80 proof, that's fine too. You might just need to let it sit for a couple extra weeks. Now, one of the things about elderberry, I want to make sure that, contact your healthcare provider. I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing with you what I do, and I share with my family and my friends, because there can be some other reactions with elderberry. So you want to make sure you do your own research. And that I want to also let you know that along with providing cold and flu relief, elderberries can reduce sinus infections and problems with allergies. It can lower blood sugar. It's a natural diuretic. It'll help promote regularity. It supports skin health, and it may even have some cancer fighting properties to it. So do your research on elderberry. When the next part of this video, I will be starting the syrup, but the tincture is good, and we're gonna just flip it every day, you know, until it's done for the next 8 weeks. And see how I'm flipping it, not shaking it. Some people might shake. Just make sure your lid is on tight so it doesn't go everywhere. And I'll see you back in a minute when we start the syrup. For the second half of this video, we're gonna go ahead and make the elderberry syrup. Now, the recipe that I originally used came from Mountain Rose Herb from their blog. You can obviously go to their website and check, and I'm sure you can Google lots of other recipes. This is the recipe that I've been using for at least the last 5 years or so, and I love it and it works. So I'm gonna make a double batch because I do share. So for a regular batch, it's 2 cups of elderberries, but I am going to double this. So I'm gonna be using 4 cups of elderberries, 2, 3. The bag fit perfectly for 4, maybe a little more, that's okay. I thought I might need to use a little bit more. Now, this calls for dried ginger, but I have some fresh ginger, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add the fresh ginger into here. I have found that a recipe that since has added astragalus root, and this is just gonna give you a little more bang for your buck with immunity boosters. So this calls for a tablespoon for every cup of elderberry. And of course I don't have my tablespoon with me. Here's one right here. I will just, so since I have 4 cups of elderberry, I'm gonna do 4 tablespoons of astragalus root, 3, 4. And then it says how many? 1 organic sweet cinnamon stick. I usually, with a double batch, I put 4 in mine. You can mix and match. And then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna add the water. I'm gonna get it to boil. After it's boiled for a while, and then we'll strain out the elderberries. That's when it's still usually a little bit warm at that point. And then I will add in some honey. And then when I'm finished, I do actually use vodka to help preserve it so I don't have to leave it in the refrigerator. You do what you need to do for your batches. And again, I'm gonna reiterate, check with your healthcare provider. I am not a doctor. I'm just sharing with you what I do. So this is what it looks like dry. And then I'm going to add about 8 cups of water, and I will start boiling it. When it starts boiling I'll take a little video so you can see what it looks like while it's boiling. And that will be it for the elderberry syrup until the end, till it's all done. It'll take, I think it takes about an hour or so. You gotta let it seep for 30 minutes and then you remove it for an hour. And then I have to wait for it to get cool enough to really strain it. And I will be using organic cheesecloth to strain it because you really got to get in there and squeeze out the juices. As much as I like using the funnels, I need to put a little more power into squeezing out the elderberry for the syrup. Okay, she's just about simmering. And as soon as she actually starts to get to a nice little simmer in here, she will simmer for 30 to 40 minutes, and then we will let her cool for an hour before straining. And there it is after cool down. Still got to let it cool down a little bit more though, because it is still a little too hot for me to be. But you see how nice and deep dark that color is? It is gonna taste really good, but the honey is gonna really make it taste better. Okay, so the elderberry syrup is still cooling. So while it's still cooling, what I have done is actually strained out the bulk of the berries. I still need to strain more of them, but I want to take advantage of this still being a little warm to add my honey. Because it's a double batch, I'm going to be adding 2 cups of honey. And, you know, use a little bit more, use a little less. Again, you don't have to. Honey is optional, but I find that it definitely adds to the flavor of the syrup. And this is a good honey. This is my favorite one that I get from Crystal's Honey. You can order that online, and this is the black locust honey. Yeah, see, I like it so much I bought the big barrels of it. spoon. Let me get my spoon here. Even better. Let me get this. So, and I'm going to stir it up really good. Let that honey melt into with the syrup, and then I'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and add the vodka too, just so that's all done, and then I'll finish straining it, and the honey, the syrup will be done. So I'll show you the finished products in a little bit. Forgot the final add. I'm going to add 2 cups of vodka, just for a natural, to prolong the shelf life, natural preservative. And this way here, I won't have to keep the syrup in the refrigerator the whole time. If you choose not to use vodka, and that's fine, you're gonna have to keep it refrigerated. And I think you get about 90 days in the refrigerator out of it. You might get a little bit more, but you'll have to check on that if that's your option that you choose when you choose your recipes. Okay, so the syrup is strained. You can see how dark the syrup is. Made just a little bit more than this big double quart, so I will be having a little bit of elderberry syrup the next couple of days. And here is the tincture. Again, I will be tipping it upside down. Hopefully you can see maybe all the elderberries in there. And this will be ready in 8 weeks. And since this is one of Barbara's favorites, I have Barbara playing in the background. So enjoy your elderberry syrup or tincture or both. They both come in handy, and they're great to share if you make big batches like this. Have a great day.